Okay, let's dive right into this one. We're talking about a new crypto token on the base chain called Hestia. Now, it's designed from the ground up to be what's called a deflationary store of value, and it has some really fascinating new tricks up its sleeve. So you might be asking, what's the big deal? What makes this one different? So first things first, let's get on the same page. What even is a deflationary token? Well, it's all about scarcity, right? The system is constantly getting rid of tokens, they call it burning, so the total supply is always shrinking. And the big idea is, if there are fewer tokens to go around, each one should, in theory, become more valuable. It's a pretty popular concept, but, and this is a big but, there's often a hidden flaw in the plan.
And yeah, that right there is the million-dollar question. See, the catch with most of these tokens is that they need people to be actively trading them. They run on the fees from all that buying and selling. So, what happens when the market goes quiet? You know, when the hype dies down, trading volume just dries up, and nobody's making moves? Well, the whole system just stops. And that is the exact problem that Hestia was built to fix.
So, to get how they pull this off, we're going to look at their new model. We'll peek inside something they call the Chaos Engine, check out its partnership with another token, Circle, see what their roadmap looks like, and then get into the really wild part. Its AI-powered future.
All right, so Hestia didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's actually inspired by an earlier token called Circle. And Circle had this really cool idea. It used trading fees from the Uniswap exchange to burn its own supply. For every 100 tokens sold, one got burned. It was simple, it was pretty effective, but as we've hinted, it had one big glaring flaw.
And here's the weakness, the Achilles heel, if you will. Circle's whole deflationary engine needs trading to run. It's fueled by fees. So when the market gets boring and nobody's trading, no fees get generated. That circular burn loop they have just grinds to a complete halt. The deflation just stops cold. The car literally runs out of gas.
Okay, so now we get to Hestia's innovative solution. This is where Hestia flips the script with its core innovation, something they call the Hestia Chaos Engine, or HCE for short. And you can think of this as a totally new design, built from the ground up for one single purpose, to make sure the deflationary engine never, ever stalls out, no matter what the rest of the market is doing.
So let's look at them side by side, because this is where it gets really interesting. The Circle Chaos Engine is paired with wrapped ether, which, can be pretty volatile. Hestia makes a really smart move here and pairs with USDC, a stablecoin. That immediately makes it a more stable foundation. But the real game changer is how it gets its money. Circle has to wait around for trading fees to build up its reserve. Hestia? Nope. It builds its own reserve by directly reducing liquidity from the pool. It basically makes its own fuel. That's what makes it self-sustaining.
All right, so this engine has two main jobs. The first one has a pretty cool name, Hestia's Rage, and this can fire off once a day. The process is actually brilliantly simple. Step 1, the engine just reaches into the trading pool and pulls out a tiny slice of liquidity, no more than 1%. Step 2, it takes the Hestia tokens from that slice and, poof, burns them forever. And step 3, it takes the USDC part of that slice and puts it in its own pocket, building up the protocol's reserve. And just like that, you have constant deflationary pressure that has absolutely nothing to do with whether people are trading or not.
Now for the second function. This one's called Smoke Fees, and it can run every single hour. And this is where things get really clever. The engine takes that USDC reserve it's been building and uses it to trade Hestia with itself. It just buys and sells back and forth, creating this storm of what's essentially artificial trading volume. Why? To generate trading fees. It then scoops up all those fees that literally wouldn't have existed otherwise, and then, in this amazing twist, it swaps them into wrapped ETH and sends them over to help out the Circle Chaos Engine.
And that right there brings us to this idea of synergy. This is one of the most unique things about Hestia. It's not trying to be a circle killer or a competitor. It's designed from day one to be a partner. It's a truly symbiotic relationship where each one makes the other stronger.
So just to spell it out, Hestia basically becomes a power plant for Circle. By creating its own volume and fees out of thin air, it provides a constant, reliable source of fuel, that wrapped ether, for Circle's engine. This means Circle's burn loop can keep on running, even if the market is totally dead. The result? A way more robust, way more resilient deflationary ecosystem for both of them.
So where's all this headed? Well, the project has a really clear roadmap, broken down into a few distinct phases. And it's a journey that starts with the launch and goes all the way to, full autonomy. Let's take a look.
Okay, so it all kicked off with a pre-sale.
Pretty standard stuff. Funders got 30%, and the other 70% went to the public and for liquidity. This basically set the stage for the launch.
And that pre-sale led to an initial market cap at launch of about $660,000. So, a fairly modest start with plenty of room to grow. Okay, so here's the timeline. Phase 0, which lasts about 1 to 2 months, is called Hestia feeding. The entire goal here is just to build up a nice, deep, stable pool of liquidity. Once that's solid, we move into Phase 1, Hestia burning. This phase is all about getting aggressive, using that Hestia's rage function every day to burn as much supply as possible. And after they've burned through half the supply, we get to Phase 2, the really futuristic part, Hestia AI.
All right, the AI-powered future. This is the end game, the grand vision for the whole project. And the trigger for this phase is when 50% of the total Hestia supply has been burned. The goal here is to do something pretty radical, to fundamentally change how the whole thing is run by literally handing over the keys to an artificial intelligence.
So how does that even work? Well, the entire Chaos Engine is controlled by one special wallet. They call it the Automator wallet. This is the only wallet that has the power to tweak the settings, how much liquidity to pull, how much artificial volume to create, all of it. You can think of it as the master control panel for the whole system.
And this quote from the white paper says it all. This phase aims to transfer control of the Automator wallet to an AI agent, establishing programmatic governance over Hestia and Circle deflationary mechanisms. Let that sink in for a second. The ultimate goal is to put an AI in charge of that master control panel. This would create a system where all the really important economic decisions, not just for Hestia but for Circle too, are made by an algorithm, not by a group of humans.
So if there's one big takeaway from all of this, it's that Hestia is way more than just another deflationary token. It's really an evolution of the whole idea. It creates a self-sustaining system that solves that critical problem of stalling out when the market gets quiet, and it does it all with a clear, super ambitious path toward a future run by an AI.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. As projects like Hestia start pushing the envelope like this, you have to wonder, will these AI-governed protocols, completely free from human emotion, from greed, from error, will they become the new standard for trust in the world of decentralized finance? It's a huge question, and honestly, only time is going to tell.